Introduce John Lynch to you, the author of Stranger to Darkness, and a wonderful read. His book will be launched with the help of Penny McElligott and Mr. Kinsler, John Kinsler, the musician. So you'll enjoy this. So I let them get at it now.
Well, having read Liam's book, there's one thing about it anyway. When you read the book, those of you that haven't been read yet, and I say a lot of you have, I think this is more a promotion than a launch, actually, because it is one of the best read books that I've come across to be launched. But anyway, the one thing is that it's a very open and very honest account of his life, and it's right from beginning right through to the present day. And I suppose for myself, one of the things that made it easy for me to link into it is that a lot of his cultural experiences, to put it that way, I suppose, are ones I'd be very familiar with. Our backgrounds, I suppose, were quite similar. I'd be a few years after him now, mind, but having said that, now, there were a lot of the stories in it, and they rang bells all over the place, as in, yes, when the donkey headed for the hawthorn bushes, I could definitely visualise that in my mind, because God, that was the sore day, all right, when we got landed up on top of the hawthorns. And there's a rake of things that way. I suppose, to begin with, I'll say, given that it is the Brendan Kennelly Festival, there are Kennelly connections always with the Lynches anyway, but one of the ones that's worth noting, all right, is that his brother Pat went to the Sen, which is in the book. I remember you were lonesome enough in the house when he was going, and they would share the drives with Timmy Kennelly, because Father John was going back there at the same time. And by all accounts, Pat wasn't awful fond of going to the Sen, because one of the stories that way, all right, is that one night they were driving their way back on the Sunday evening. And Pat, I suppose, in the back seat maybe says out to Timmy, "Where are we now?" And Timmy said, "Farm 4. Isn't it far enough?" says he. And I got that one from Nancy anyway. Having said that, I think it's time as well we righted a terrible wrong that was done to my own family. Not mentioned in the book, but Liam has written a few other bits of stories, and this one has come to the fore, and it was a wound and it had healed up and it was gone, but Faith had just opened it afresh again now. How they badly wronged my grandfather. Because my grandfather had a pony, and like an awful lot of ponies, he was prone to ramble just around kind of from farmyard to farmyard. They didn't take too much notice of him, and he always came home. And I suppose he liked to have a bit of a sweet carrot or a mangle or a beet or whatever it was that he got. It was very nice. But Liam and the boys one day anyway, when he went up as far as their house first, and they gave him his carrot, but as they were at it, they cut him into the shed. And while they had him inside in the shed, they got whatever bit of knives they had or blades, I don't know what they used, but every bit of hair in his mane and every bit of hair in his tail was removed. Because you see, these Lynches, as you know yourselves from bygone times, are still behind the camera, and they've been that for so many years now, longer than I'm around anyway. But they were enterprising, and the whole plan was to make a few bob out of selling the hair inside Fitzpatrick's inside in the store, and all was well, of course, until the pony arrived back into my grandfather's yard. This strange pony that he'd never before set eyes on. He didn't recognise it at all. And sure enough, he was going to complain, the boys, to their father, but of course, one of my own uncles, I don't know which one it was, but one of them anyway says to him, "Don't, I'm sure the Lynches weren't there right, you should never look a gift horse in the mouth." And another story that I got in relation to the Lynches from my uncle Neely, the very far back corner, head down, but anyway, was in relation to a time, it was a year not dissimilar to this one. It was a right wet year, and in those days the option of silage wasn't there. You had to try and save the hay. In fact, the hay was down to 2 weeks or maybe to 3 weeks, and it was very hard to save it anyway. And at that stage, of course, when the rain stopped and we tackled in again, we had to tackle in with our pipes, because we had to get it out of the ground. The grass was beginning to grow up through it at this stage. And sure enough, my grandfather, John Lynch, going up the road anyway, all he sees inside the field is pikes stuck everywhere. And Johnny Lynch came on to the gap and started talking to him. And he was saying that they were after having a disagreement anyway, and that his 4 brave men had all abandoned the game anyway. The game was called off, they struck the pikes and they left the middle. He was there on his own, and he said it was going to be a prolonged campaign of disobedience. I have heard that story told since I was this height, I'd say. But now at this stage, I think we might, before we tell any more bits of stories, we'll get John Kinsella to give us a blast of a song about Pat Murphy's medal. Because we're talking about hay anyway.
The autumn days are here again, and the night winds chilly blow. The woodland turns a golden hue, and the harvest moon's aglow. To think again of days long past, to come no more I know, when I mowed Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago. I see again the ocean and the distant sails afar, and the maiden in the meadow strikes up dark Lochmagar. There was music soft and tender in the winds that whispered low, when I mowed Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago. Where are the happy boys and girls who dance the gay quadrille, or the singer who warbles sweetly the burning Afton waters flow, when I'm out Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago. Those days are but a memory, like snows of yesteryear. And when evening shades are falling, all around I shed a tear. On my brow I feel the soft touch of the winds that whispered low, when I'm out Pat Murphy's meadow in the sunny long ago.
Now, another bit of a short story that Liam has written relates to the mowing of the meadow, and that's what brought that one in. But it was, I suppose, as a share, if you will remember, in the old days, half the winter's work was cleaning out from the cows, and when you know what they do outside in the yard, there was no concrete there, so it would be a gravel yard, and according to the winter would go on to keep herself warm, that would be piped into the pony's car and out into the field and scattered around the place to manure the field, and that was fine, but of course there were a few stones to go over it as well. And the trouble there then was that in the springtime, before the grass came too strong, we had to make sure that the young lads were sent out to pick all of the stones, because if they weren't, we would make sugar of the mowing bar, and that there was a logic in it anyway. But there was one summer, and again poor Johnny Lynch was outside with his mowing bar, and God knows it takes a long time to put the edge on the finger bar, all right, now to be good at it, and it was time consuming, and the last thing that he wanted was to be hitting stones, but he was cutting the middle, cutting it as bare as he could, to make sure he had as much hay as he could get off it. And he had a neighbour going up the road, and the neighbour anyway shouted in over the ditch for him to raise the bar. Don't you know? No, he wouldn't trust the young lads at all to pick all the stones. Raise the bar, says he, and mind the stones. Full sure that the half of them were left after the young lads, they weren't to be trusted. And that was fine anyway. The same neighbour had to go into hospital a short time after, because he had a hernia operation, and again, not like today, a hernia in those days was a big deal. Today, God knows you're in or having more sup of tape while they're at it, and we're back out again. Time to milk in the evening before still milking. But anyway, in those days it was a big deal. So Liam called into his neighbour after anyway to ask him how did the whole ordeal of hospital go, what was it all like. And our man told him it was fine until the morning of the operation. He got an awful shock, because there did this young, lovely looking nurse arrive into him with a razor. And she told him that she had to give him a shave, and he said, that's fine, I know, she says, down below. And of course the man was in an awful state, and she said, I have to do it in case we get wound infection or anything, was it? And that was fine. But he said, all went well, she did a very clean job and did no harm anywhere, and it was all went well. And Liam says to him, but sure, I suppose you advised her well, like you advised my father. Anyway, you probably taught her to raise the bar and mind the stones. No, I think we'll get Liam himself to tell us a few bits and pieces. One thing that I want to know anyway for myself, because there's one piece in the book where he's saying that it was the first Christmas after his grandfather died, and his father was lonesome, and saying that for over 90 years his grandfather had been in the house. Now the thing is that it's a long time since his grandfather died, and if for 90 years before that he was inside in the same house, I'm wondering when did the Lynches arrive to that part of the country up there?
Well, from what I can probably hear, Paddy, and thank you for all your nice stories. My grandfather told me when I went to the Blessed Will in Coolard that it was his grandfather that took him there.
Good.
So, and his grandfather told him that it's probably his father, and his father before him had taken him there to the Blessed Will at Coolard, where I was yesterday. And I reckon we have written that, like, without, we can absolutely say that our family is living in the borders of Ballydonoghue and Bally since at least 1760 or 70. It's a long period of time, and a long period of time, long may they continue to live there.
My God, yes, so that's... suppose it could be referred to as a no man's land, all right, I suppose, there when we were very near the border. I wonder, did it make more a Ballydunhoman or less a Ballydunhoman?
Well, depending upon in what direction it was going.
Very good. Very
There was
good.
a few fellas down the road from us. And there were a bunch of happy boys. I think there's one of them here tonight, Neely. My God, if we got into a bit of a scrap with Neely, he would always come out to watch with it. But we are always associated with the Ballyline fellas anyway, but there were a handy lot of boys. But I've never seen an area to lose so many of its young people in such a short time. Ballyline, you know.
Yes, yes.
But
Yes.
there were some great football matches between Kilgarvan and Ballyline, and these were the fellas that started the chant first. But they arrived one evening at our well field, and it was only yesterday I was thinking about it. And they brought Major Hunt's daughters with them
Yeah.
to play football.
Very good, very good.
The Major we knew him as, and the Major he was, and a Major he wasn't in real life too. But he bought them, and I suppose they were the first girls anyway to play in a football match with Ballyline against Kilgarvan. And with the aid of Maggie Rice, the local lady, she was the referee.
Yes.
That lady doesn't that decided us in the field that was all scored, the likes of who on the scene in Twickenham or anyone of the But it was a wonderful evening, you know, and any boy that has ever stood there, I'd say Neely would surely remember the girls and the boys playing football that evening. And
they knew your way expert, I'd say.
well, they didn't raise the bar. But there were a great bunch of boys, and there was a great bit of rivalry between the two townlands, especially like the grade between Ballydunhoo and Bally.
Well, yes,
But it was
yes,
only
yes.
followed the Ballydunhoo team because they were all conquering at that time with
Oh, sure, of
Billy
course.
Dow
The
and
Dowlands,
Milton.
yeah.
But then into Ballycam, the famous man, the Nabba Fitzmaurice, and things changed completely. We all loved him.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, and one of the headlines in the Kerryman I remember from that time was, Bally wins as Nabba shines.
Oh.
And football took a different meaning for us that hour. It was a lovely time to go up in Bally, I must say that.
The Bally crowd, all right, they've always been famous for polishing their numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Do you know what? We have another vegetable song from him. Yeah. Yes, that's right. He has a song, I had him sing it a couple of years ago, and I don't think I heard it since. And I never heard him singing it out before, as I would say. You know, he sang it with his father's hat, the lovely song.
When I was young, my dad would say, "Come on, son, let's go out and play." It almost seemed like yesterday. Then I'd climb up the closet shelf when I was all by myself, grab his hat and fix the brim, pretending I was him. No matter how hard I try, no matter how many years go by, and no matter how many tears I cry, I still can't say goodbye. He always took care of Mom and me. We'd all cut down the Christmas tree. He always had good time for me. Wind blows through the trees, night lights they still shine bright, moon still looks the same. Oh Lord, I miss a hat like mine anymore. Tried it on when I walked in, still trying to be like him. No matter how hard I try, no matter how many years go by, no matter how many tears I cry, I still can't say goodbye.
One other thing I noticed in some of our stories, again, not in the book, but other stories that came up for a mention regular enough, was the O'Donnells. I say you must have given them a desperate persecution.
Well, I suppose if we were there since 1760, the O'Donnells were there as long as us. And across the road lived some of the finest neighbours that God ever put into this world. I know we might have been a little bit hard on them. They never turned and said anything to us. They were loyal people that always were a leading family in the area, and it was wonderful to have them because you looked up to them. William O'Donnell, all three O'Donnell families. There was something about them. But during the year, once I heard that my neighbour, one of the loyalest friends I think I ever had in my life, Georgie O'Donnell, was in trouble with his health. And that brought great sadness to our family and to members of the whole community of Ballydunner, whom Georgie had served so loyally, and to his two wonderful sons who wore the green and gold jersey. It's better nearly than having a round collar in the family, I think. But nearly, I said. The O'Donnells, anyway, Georgie died, I think, last May. The community was saddened, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago I got a phone call from my brother John, who never has an excited voice. But on the phone this day he says to me, Georgie O'Donnell is back. I said, what are you talking about, John? Gee, he said, I began to worry, and then he said, there was a young boy born to the O'Donnell family this morning, and they called him Georgie. Back to Kilcarf, and welcome, young boy. You have a lot of history to carry on your shoulder.
And now we move on from the belly end of it. You met Kathleen anyway. You'll have to tell us as well a bit about Kathleen.
Kathleen over there.
She's there, all right. She's worse than Neil with the head down.
I suppose the early days of Kathleen, I suppose, was something of a real romance. Anyway, that's for sure. And I think one of the things I loved to do with Kathleen, you better be careful here now.
It's all right, then
I thought and I think that she was a lovely girl. And the pride of my life was to bring her to the parish hall in Ballylongford to the dance, just down below.
Yeah.
And Roger Mulville, God be with him,
yes,
had a little band. And he was singing, I can remember the song, he was singing Sean Tracy, who died so far away.
Yeah.
Beautiful little band, and we danced around there, and I introduced Kathleen to all my friends in Bally. I knew from that day on that there was something special between us, but I remember the time she changed my life and convinced me not to immigrate. I suppose anyway, we had lots of things in common. But I was saying goodbye to a good few friends in Bally, and there was a lady up there in the Well Road called, I don't know what's her name, Hanny Granville. Drops will know that anyway. And
was that her name, Drops?
Granville.
Drops.
I said Drops. Drops, I wasn't joking. And she said to me, I said goodbye. She was a lovely lady, kind.
Yes.
I said goodbye, I'm going away. She said, are you immigrating like all the rest of them? I said no. I said, I'm going to live in Knocknagoshire. Well, I've heard of Boston and I've heard of New York. And London, but where in the name of God is not. Well, as the years moved by anyway, Kathleen and I developed a great friendship. And we went to the dances all over North Kerry, and it was obvious when my brother Paddy came home and told him, if whatever you think, Mom, he said, Liam is hooked. And we did get married, and I must say something about Kathleen and the wonderful support that she has been to me through thick and through thin. I've gone to reverse the roles, Kathleen. Behind every successful woman, there's a man. Kathleen and her family have the very same. They would have left North Kerry after the breaking up of the clans, and also have lived in Knocknagoshire since 1740 or 60. But it was her mother, God rest her soul, that brought me into her home and made me welcome. And I had the happiest life we ever had. And we have been through thick and thin, there is no doubt about it.
Yes.
Tough days and bad days, bad farming, weather and all. But I wouldn't change my whole way of life and what I have lived for anything. If I were to live it all over again, I'd be very happy to enjoy the life I'm living today.
Right. We'll sing a small bit of a song to yourself and Kathleen. And I thought the only right way to do this is to my own Mary and myself that will do it. Oh, here we go. Oh. No. We hope to be as happy as Liam and Kathleen will sing. That's the thing about it.
The summer we'll go walking way down to the river, down the Carra Road. Past the blue sky we'll walk under, listen to the humming, peasant on we'll go. We won't worry about the traffic, worry about the radio, worry about the phone. In the summer we'll go walking way down to the river, down the Carra Road. Past the cattle out there grazing, through the woods of hazel, holly, birch and oak. Past the robin on the gate post, singing to the bluebirds, sunlight is their post. We won't worry about the winter, worry about it raining, worry about the snow. In the summer we'll go laughing way down to the river, down the dusty road. There is music
something written by a cotton man, but anyway, we forgive him. Now, moving on to another part of our life then, I suppose, is it was at Mass this morning. I see the priest in the Gospel, that was part of his sermon about fellas making sure they had enough oil for their lamps. And it reminded me of a time I was in school a long time ago. We had a priest gave us the sermon, and to the sermon about the bridesmaids, and they all waiting for the bride and groom to arrive back. And the sermon was fine, that was grand, and they all there, and some had their lamp oil and some didn't. But I suppose the only priest, the mistake that the priest made was that as soon as he was finished the gospel, he started off his sermon, and we were all young lads into the boarding school. Right now, lads, say, which would he prefer? To be with the 5 clever bridesmaids in the light, or the 5 foolish ones in the dark? And we all burst laughing around the place, and the man, I said, to this day, he still can't figure out what we were laughing at. It was in complete innocence. But, having said that, the light, and I suppose even the name of the book, A Stranger to Darkness, I suppose it was a ferocious blow, given the fact that you could see, and then there came the day that you couldn't, and it was Shakespeare himself. I had to write it down in case I'd get it wrong. It was in Romeo and Juliet we came across it. He that is struck blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. And definitely, I suppose, it was a fierce blow. Now, even before we talk about it, I'm going to get people to do something that's, you might think it's awful stupid, but we're going to have a go at it anyway. We're going to do just a small bit of a thrust walk. In other words, I want you to pair off with someone beside you that he trust. Now, if there is such a person in the building, I know it's very hard to find anyone in Bally that will trust in that time anyway. Well, with money now, maybe.
And you couldn't find a foolish surgeon.
I do we should. We're all from Ballyline.
Oh, sure, of course.
Just step so I
And you see the extent to which even a simple matter like coming up or down off of a step, the simplest thing imaginable. Imagine it to the full stairs. Imagine trying to keep more vertical. So, but can you see, because I know that for me, I've absolutely no idea of being blind. I don't know what it means. I don't have a concept of it. I really don't. All I was trying to come up with there is somewhere just that people get just some hint of an idea that if we didn't have our sight just for the 2 minutes, the simple things, like imagine if we're sitting down there with no sight and we want to go to the loo. Where is the loo? Right, you know, as in simple things, and you need to go now, like, I mean, you know, by the time we get there, by the time we figure out where it is, by the time is it open, is it shut, or, you know, like, it is actually a huge load. But, now there was one man, and he said he wanted to say, make a comment here about leaving. I was there for 10 years.
I'm delighted to be here this evening for various reasons. First of all, I'm from South Kerry, and you know there's always been a divide between South and North Kerry, whether it is politics or what it is. But I was an agricultural advisor for 30 years in South Kerry, and I have to say, as regards the North Kerry advisors, they thought we had nothing in South Kerry. But the strange thing was we were producing more milk in South Kerry in spite of all the good land in North Kerry. But anyhow, put that aside. I wanted to be a farmer, and that didn't happen. I ended up being an agricultural advisor, and I loved the job. I've been quite truthful about that. But I, first of all, ended up, I made a nice girl, of course, when I was in my second year of working. And you see, my mother, God rest her, we were at a dance in Killarney, and this other farmer who had come from East Kerry, he had come from Slieve. She was delighted to tell him I had come from Carsiveen to Rathmore in 1968. I tell you what, he says, he'll get his wife there, and I did. Now, how he was a prophet and all that, I couldn't tell you. But then, I'm a recovering alcoholic, for what it is, and then I suffered this thing called manic depression, and manic is madness. So, if you see that girl that's behind there, she is a saint forever staying with me for something like 37 years, I guarantee that. It couldn't be easy. But as regards meeting Liam, I lost my job after 30 years due to depression. I ran out of sick leave, but I got my full pension. So then I was asked would I go on this thing called a board, the board of the people with disability. So I said I'd give it a try. The first day we were sitting in the room, and the chairperson being a woman, and everyone in the room had a disability, but I was sitting down, of course, relaxed enough. And Liam passed in behind me, and he had his white stick. And of course, being the fellow I was like, never saw the white stick at all. But Jackie, the chairperson, says, Ted, I must introduce you to Liam. Should I put my hand in Liam's hand for some happiness? Then it dawned on me that the man was blind. His next question to me was, and what is your disability? I said, depression. He's the first man, and I'd say the only one who has ever described depression properly. Oh, he says, the hidden disability. Now, thanks be to God, I'm great at the moment. But having lost my job, and I'm on the board of disability, then I worked with them for a while in various things. But there were times I was in the depths of depression, fine weather or otherwise. I would not leave the chair. And my good wife had said to me, wouldn't you go for a walk? She made me slap in the face. I could not get my arse up no matter what. And at times then, for some unknown reason, Liam would ring me. And that was better therapy than all the psychiatrists and tablets and all that stuff. But then one of my children got a message from someone in school, took me a long time to see it, of course. What was written on this thing, I'd said that for 5 years before I'm not that observant. It said, you will never appreciate the miracle of a sunrise unless you have lived in darkness. No, I won't say any more, but it was my good luck to meet Liam, I must be honest.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for that, Teddy. Very nice. Now, just a few last things that I want you to cover with us. One is your dog Yale. How important is your guide dog to you?
Well, the first thing I would like to say, you told a lovely story about priests having 9 women as a heathen. I made my first Holy Communion in Ballydonoghue Church, but it was always down to you at the Bally I came to confession. And Father Ferris was there, and there'd be a line of the Bally lads, and they'd be pushing away. Just the one thing we could get the head without any problem. But I got an idea, and I thought it was great. I went to Father Ferris and my father, the Yennis Packer.
Yeah.
And I'm an artist, and they come up on the rest left. I used the Irish language to go to Father Norton and Father Ferris had a great love of the Irish language. But leading into the more important question you asked there, Paddy, regarding my guide dog Yale. The first I was trained as in the white cane. I did that for, I think it was about 3 weeks mobility training in Cork. And that was very difficult because that was the first procedure that I did in order to get mobility.
Yes, yes.
But as I went back into the Braille and IT class in Tralee, and may, as I say at the present moment, welcome my tutor Anne Kennedy here tonight. I can honestly say, Anne, you're going to kill me. But she has done more for blind people in preparing them for life in every kind of way that is possible, through all sorts of drama and shame satire, personal development, and she taught me listening skills.
Talking is easy, all right.
Yeah, talking is easy. But some of the boys there encouraging, and certainly was very encouraging for me to go ahead for a guide dog. A lot of preparation and thought. You just don't go and get him like a cow dog, you know.
Yes,
There's a lot of thinking, because a lot of the guide dogs fail, and a lot of the people that are trained as guide dog owners also fail. And you know, there are very few people really who can adapt to the situation of having a guide dog. In fact, it's quite easy for a dog to adapt to your situation. It's difficulties with the human being.
Yes.
Well, yeah. But in order to get to the college anyway, properly inside the Moyderwill and Tralee, and in order to be able to get there without any difficulties and as fast as I could, you know, I did get a guide dog, and I must say that the training for that was really, really difficult. And I remember then we were on the stage at Shira on the day we finished the show, Cosella, here in the door. And I come off the stage, I don't think I said goodbye to my friends that day, and I boarded the bus for Cork City to get my guide dog. And as I was going along the bus, I knew that Anne was preparing our next show and that I wasn't getting away with anything. But I arrived in Cork, I think it was November or sometime around that. If Tom Brosnan was here, he would there. And I started the 3 weeks, I was shot 3 days of intensive training that was done in order to prepare me for the road of a guide dog owner. And I found that very difficult. And at times I cursed stars that I would ever bother with it, you know.
Yes,
but
yes.
stick with it, we were ordered, stick with it, stay with it. Kathleen also said the very same, stay with it, and if you fail, what about it? But you asked me the question, how important is my guide dog to me? Well, for the next number of years, as Anne will tell you, I went into Tralee, to Casement Station in Tralee, and I did the miles up to Moyderwill through all sorts of traffic and everything. I was an independent human being again, walking to the delight of my life, and people saying hello, and Yale stopping at the traffic lights and everything, you know. Kathleen, you're going to laugh. He was a wonderful talking piece, in people on the bus and everything like that. But my guide dog has given me my eyes. He has given me a new life. He has also given that to my family. You know, I think my family, and that includes my extended family, are very proud of the way I have adapted and where Yale has taken over responsibilities and given me a free life, it has also freed up my family from any sort of fear, and they know that out there, Liam's getting around the village of Knocknagosh drinking port.
What do not come on with a wounded knee, is that right?
When I was in the village one evening, I was walking out after drinking a few pints, and I was coming down, they were holding up at the crossword, brutalizing, and I said, "You're out to look with me, Gary." He said, "No," he said, "the law for you is in the statute books a lot longer. I can have you arrested," he said, "and put into jail for being in charge of an animal and intoxicated." Yeah, but you know, I've traveled. I've gone to Cork, I've gone to Galway City, I've gone to Cork, and I go to Mayo. I've travelled all over the country with the companionship of Yale. Also, you know, I have a slogan that I call my own, and I think it certainly is. It says, and I quote, "Through the eyes of my friends I will always say, well, Yale is my real friend."
The book, it is, I suppose, the best way to put it, it is a deeply personal account of your life, as in there is, like, it is as personal as you can possibly get. How do you find it easy to write, or do you find it very difficult, or how actually was that whole exercise of getting it from what was in our head to what's there in front of us to read?
Yes, I think that I would have to start at the start a little bit. That when I started at the Braille and IT class in Tralee, I had very little knowledge of adaptive technology. And when I started with that, in fact, I had to learn the ASDF and the JKL. I had to learn the typing skills, and with the help of a lot of people, including my teacher, tutor Anne Kennedy. I adapted pretty quickly to the typing, and I started to write fairly reasonably fast. I don't think it took us more than a couple of months to get us going on to the whole lot of the cow jumped over the black moon or whatever kind of dimples were there and Galway to the other monarch. But we worked at it, and Anne introduced something to me that I thought at the time was frightening. She introduced me to write a learning journal. It would be a description of the learning skills that I learned at school, and also the wider aspect of it was that I would include all that, even the drives through to school, when we went out onto the abseiling or into the lakes or wherever we went. I was encouraged to write this down, and every day I would take this back and would sit back in her chair, and she would smile and say, "Liam, you're writing a bit of colourful language." You're a colourful way of expressing yourself. So that went on anyway, and I was doing fine. I'd taken up another project about rural depopulation, a problem I'd ignored, which I'm halfway through. And in the middle of it, Anne says to me, "Liam," she said, "will you write you a book?" And I said, I never said to any girl in my life, "Will you fake off?" But Anne took me aside, and we spoke and we thought about it. And then I came to this great power to write the book was within myself, you know.
Yes, yes.
And with the inclusion of having a good teacher, which I really appreciate, and having the time and the energy to do so, I started writing the first page of my book. And I brought it to Anne, and she said, "I remember that day," and she said, "I think we've got something here."
Well, now.
So it started there, and one day I was in the school, and I was telling Anne that if you all spellings, you're clicking on Anne again. I hadn't got used to the F7, the spelling correct. I said, "I'm going to give it up." And she said, "Hanging in." I said, "The spellings are a bit terrible." And when you will know, she said, so she brought in Dennis Doody. What is he? His
Caterer.
A caterer, and is he a cook or
A chef.
A chef, that's a better word, thank you.
Yeah.
And she said, Dennis is going to give you a bit of instruction. So she said, Liam has problems with the spelling and then he mightn't complete his book. And Dennis says, I'm a chef, he said, and I was giving a lecture, he said, on how to bake a Christmas cake one time. And he said, I was very particular that notes would be kept, you know.
Yes.
Notes would be important. So he said, place the ingredients into the bowl, so much ingredients, butter and all, and stir vigorously. That's all right, he said. I went around, he said, and I checked them with like 8 to 1 for that. And I read what he said. And he said, place the ingredients into the bowl, and I had to say this word, and stir like fuck.
There was nothing wrong with his spelling.
He said, Dennis Dooley, he said, and as Dennis Dooley, he said to him, why didn't you put down vigorously like I told you? Because I couldn't spell something.
Fair enough.
So he said, if you continually to write, he said, and to forget about the 4 little words, and write and forget about the spelling, as Anne had already told me, that will rectify it itself. So she gave me 20 spellings. I was always making the mistake. And like a good kiddo, caught in a bad situation, I always go back to the wrong thing.
That's a story about that.
The story is there. Is that that's how really the book came, because Anne asked me to write it. But I knew within my soul, and I knew within my heart too, that that was there to write it. And I think, of course, we have to give credit where credit is due, the encouragement from the Kerry Vocational Education Services for having the college there to do it. Yes.
And one last thing that I want to ask you about, I'd say you're the only one of us here, I'd say anyway, that has danced for the President of Ireland, or not? You'll have to tell us about that.
Well, I suppose that goes back again to the first time. I think there were only 4 of us that started the first Braille in IT class in Tulane Day Place.
Yeah.
On into our school one morning, there came a girl from Shin City, she's here tonight, Anne Kennedy. And she asked us if we would go and...
Does Anne do everything?
She does it, and she asked us if we would go to the Shin City and produce a show.
Yeah.
Well, again, I laughed at more. I said, Father Paddy, I haven't one minute with this one. But over we went anyway to Shin City, and I'll never forget the first morning. We were placed in a horseshoe-shaped group around, and we were sort and this clap of hands.
Yes.
And we had white planes and gay jumps and all. She was giving us tea. The whole thing was the stride. I said, for God's sake, go home, get them done, and don't drive us all mad. But persisted she did anyway. And I came on to the ship. We started our first show in Shin City. I can remember well being down there as a young fellow looking up and admiring the stage of Shin City. But we produced our first show there, and there was no exclusion. Everybody was included. It was called Totem the Live.
Yeah.
And we brought down the house that day. And we were dancing on the stage of Shin City that day. I was a watershed in my life, I can really tell the truth. I came off that stage that day after the Totem the Live show. I knew that life, as I knew, would never again be the same. Nothing had prepared me for life more than the drama teaching, the preparation, the concentration, the whole effect that drama has in people. And I would go further to say it should start almost from the very early kindergarten days at school. Drama has the potential to educate everybody. We found out that. And it is 6 shows called Hidden Voices from the Dark. And I'm very proud to say I participated in each of the 6 shows. And in 2003, the Kerry Vocational celebrated 100 years of being in Kerry. And on that stage, I think, and we were very proud. Our show was requested to go to Galari, and there we would perform our show. for the President of Ireland. Surely the greatest honour that ever came to me that day, and I did dance on the stage of that day, and my God, it really let our boots fly. And the President, I think, was astonished. But I'm very proud also to say that in his second presidential, that President Mary isn't the only one. A great old friend of mine here this evening in Ballybighton drops in, right?
Yes.
And welcome drops to our live friend. We both also stood guard of honour in Calamity for President Eamon de Valera. And our yes. And that is outside of politics or anything. It's the greatest honour you can do is to stand guard of honour for the President of Ireland, to leave that in my heart and soul. The great thing about that day is that Eamon de Valera was blind, and I had the power on my side. But I was privileged to stand for guard of honour for a man who was proud enough to examine us from outside. And later on, to go on the years, I suppose it's nearly 50 years later, I am honouring a President of Ireland, I am dancing. And this time I am blind.
Well, now, yeah.
And that's the life I lead. That's the wonderful world of living in what some people would consider darkness. 10 years of my life, or 15 years, I have spent in almost total darkness. I've lost nothing white, but I've gained immensely white. And I must say, if I had not gone blind, I wouldn't be sitting here and talking to my friends and to the members of the Ballylongford Festival Committee. All I can say to that, there is a life after darkness, and a wonderful one. You take the chance.
We know the book anyway, A Stranger to Darkness by John Lynch, dedicated to Kathleen, my wife and best friend. And all proceeds from the sale of this book are donated to the Irish Guide Dogs Association. Now, he has delved very personally into his own life to try and make money for the Irish Guide Dogs Association, and it is, my God, it is a fierce tribute. I'll tell you one thing, Ballylongford is very proud of you anyway, and they're inclined to steal you if they could from the Ballylongford. They're trying to put in a bit of a claim.
I am a Ballyman, I was a bit more my life here in Bally anyway, that's for sure.
Yes.
Who could be stolen away from within?
And would you believe it? It was Stevie Wonder that said, and you know poor Stevie with the sunglasses, and it was Stevie that said, just because a man lacks the use of his eyes, it doesn't mean he lacks vision. And I think he was thinking about when he said that anyway. We have one last blasphemous song now from John Lynch. What colour is the wind?
What color is the wind, Daddy? Is it yellow, red, or blue? When it's playing with my hair, Daddy, does it do the same to you? When it's dying, does its color fade? Is a gentle breeze a lighter shade? Just like his friend the sea, the wind feels blue to me. When the blackbird starts to sing, Daddy, the flowers hear him too. When he's playing out his heart, Daddy, tell me, what do roses do? Do they cast their scent upon the air, or is fragrance just a rose in prayer, giving thanks to God above for the blackbird's song of love? Blow, wind, blow, wild and free. My laddie says, you're a lot like me. I know its color, its shape and size, I've seen them all with my daddy's eyes. I know that grass is green, Daddy, I've touched it with my toes, and snow is purest white, Daddy, I felt it on my nose. But my favorite color has to be the color of your love for me. Daddy, I've been told that love is always gold. Blowing low, wild and free. My daddy says, you're a lot like me. My daddy says, you're a lot like me. What color is the wind?
Okay, if you want to buy your copies, you can buy them, and there's no better man to sign them than Liam.
Thank you. She nearly has a pattern.
I'd like to thank Pat and John for such a wonderful introduction to Liam's work. He's raised 33,000 for the Irish Guide Dogs for the Blind. I'd ask you please to support the book this evening, and the money will be going to the blind, the Irish Guide Dogs Association. Thank you very much.
Oh, Lord,
Concerning slanted daldan lån Gille märsen skall skico Is guler för klocking då Såna känn i våras häng Och långigen och gille mär Känn och läkma gilla mär Känn och häsa gilla mär Såna känn i våras